Hello and welcome to another video from Kerbin. This is part 1 of my mission to capture a comet and hopefully to get it into orbit around Kerbin. It turned out to be much bigger than I was expecting, and it was also very time consuming. So just before we launch, let's have a quick look at our target and set it as our target as well. I've only got 31 days till it reaches Periapsis, and so we're going to have to get a move on if that's possible. So here we have just a pretty much standard launch of my Comet Catcher 1, which I have used before in various other asteroid catching videos, but this is a comet video, so it's a comet catcher now. So as it's a bit slow going, we're just going to speed the video up a bit to get through the launch a little bit quicker. See how the timing's going for the boosters against the main outer rockets. And the outer rockets have run out of fuel a bit before the solid rocket boosters. Not too much of a problem. Ideally it would have been the other way around, but never mind, only a few seconds. So there we go, jettisoning the solid rocket boosters, and a few explosions, but we seem to have survived. Don't think there's any damage. And now we can get rid of the first pair of outer boosters just as we're starting to pitch over. And I've got some little assist rockets on them to push them away from the main rocket so it doesn't crash into it and damage it. So the ascent's going quite nicely, and we're coming upon, oh, there it is, the second pair of giant boosters have run out and been jettisoned, and then we just rotate 90 degrees, so when this pair of boosters get jettisoned, after we just transfer a bit of fuel around, so when we jettison these outer last two, that they go sideways rather than one dropping down on top of the main rocket and potentially destroying it. So we're just transferring a bit of monopropellant around. There they go. So now we're looking for an escape trajectory to get us into a solar orbit. And we've got a few extra solid rocket boosters to help with the escape. And then burnt out, so we've got a second set of 4 just to help speed us out of the influence of Kerbin. Push on just under the normal engines until, there we go, and we're now travelling fast enough to escape Kerbin, and once we have completed this manoeuvre we'll be in a solar orbit. So we're just going to use time warp to get us to that point. Nearly there, just edging through the last little bit of the manoeuvre, and yep, that's it, solar orbit has been achieved. Well, that's the easy bit. Now for the tricky bit. It was pretty obvious from the start that I was never going to be able to carry enough fuel to do this, so we're going to have to use the infinite propellant cheat. Otherwise we'd have to carry a planet's worth of fuel, I think, to pull this mission off. But yeah, now we're looking for the tricky part to get a rendezvous with the Comet. I'm in a terrible position for catching the Comet, so this is going to be a very big manoeuvre using a lot of fuel, which I, well, haven't got, but I have got, if you see what I mean. Just trying to get the Periapsis close to the Comet's path, and then some time warping, and we get our first glimpse of the Comet in the background there. So we're just finishing off the highly inefficient manoeuvre. We've reversed our orbit around the Sun so that we are heading in the same direction as the Comet, and more or less get it lined up. And again you can see the Comet's tail pointing away from the Sun rather than trailing behind it, which confused me for a while. I thought I was heading in the wrong direction, but yeah, let's just see it then. So another long burn until we get our orbits aligned, and now we're catching up with the Comet, and we'll be looking for the rendezvous soon. So we're getting close to the rendezvous. There it is, coming up. Now we're almost in the comet's tail, which looks amazing, and it's absolutely huge. Even this shot doesn't really do it justice. So I've got another manoeuvre plotted in just to try and bring the rendezvous a bit closer. And we time warp up to the manoeuvre, up to the rendezvous after the manoeuvre. And we are now very close. I'm literally in the comet's tail. And I overdid the manoeuvre burn somewhat, so I'm dropping away from the comet. So I've just got to fire up the engines again and try and catch up with it, which is, again, it's delayed the rendezvous, but as you can see we're drifting closer and closer. And we must be getting really close now. Yeah, getting closer. Getting closer. Where are we? 300 kilometers, 200, 150 kilometers. Don't want to get too close. Yeah, well, that was too close. Yep, I think I found it then, but never mind. I've completely destroyed the comet and my rocket, except for one bit of debris by the looks of it. It's a good job I did a quick save before the rendezvous, so we can try that again. Right, so here we are on the final approach then. We're what, 500 kilometres away or so. Oh no, down at 200, 150. So I know I'm getting close. Oh, what's that? There it is. We found it. Oh, too close again. Smashed off a few solar panels and a few other bits and pieces. But it seems to have survived, but we'll go back to the quick save and try that again. So we'll get close again, but hopefully not too close. There we go, there, we found it. Right, okay, it's a decent distance. What's that, 800 odd metres away. So we're just going to gently cruise up to it. There's no particular rush at this stage. I'm actually behind it, so I'm going to try and pass underneath it and swing round and try and manoeuvre in front of the comet so that I don't have to turn the whole thing around to try and slow it down. So I can just slow it down from being in front of it. I think that makes sense, it does in my head. I'm starting to get a bit more of a sense of scale. Edge a bit closer. Oh no, I think I made a mess of that. There we go. No, I have made a mess of it completely. So we're going to try that again. So we can try and get in front of it. And then edge across and try and grapple the comet. So we are just using the thrusters to try and manoeuvre in front of it. Have to kill the speed off so that I could, well, be stationary in front of it before we move in. Trying to look for a reasonable place to grapple. I think we should be aimed at the centre of mass, but at this stage anything will do. And there we go, just trying to get a bit of speed, and we bounce off. Okay, was that too fast? Not sure. Seem to have lost a solar panel. Not that we really need them at this distance because they don't work very well this far from the sun. We've got plenty of RTGs, radio isotopic thermonuclear generators, to produce electricity. So we get it lined up and we're going in for another attempt at a grapple. No, it's not a very square line up. And again, we've bounced off. The RCS thrusters are going mad, trying to get us lined up with the centre of mass. It's not working very well. We should be bouncing away a bit, but that gives us a chance to get straight. And now the comet's spinning slowly. That's not very good for trying to grapple. But we could have a flat surface coming up here. Can we get that? Oh no, we've bounced off of it again. So now I'm just firing the engines, trying to force the grapplers to grab hold of something. Doesn't seem to be working. It's just leaning over. We're just sliding off of it again. Mind you, we're getting nearly straight on again. Perhaps we can just nudge it into the surface. Come on, you can do it. Just edge forward a bit more. Oh no, we had another bounce. Oh, yeah, we got it. Oh, you know, well, it's a bit of a funny angle, but it did bounce and grapple. As you can see, it's all gone very wobbly down there at that end of the vehicle, and I'm just trying some different auto strut settings, trying to stop the wobble, and deploying the landing legs, trying to hold it steady, but it doesn't seem to have worked that well. No, it's still very wobbly. Again, trying some auto strut settings. Not really sure which ones work best in this situation. I'm not even sure if auto strut is supposed to stop that sort of thing, but there's not much I can do about it at the moment. And as you see, every time I apply the thrust it goes very wobbly, which is going to be completely useless for trying to bring it under control and slow the orbit down. So I think we're going to have to release it and try and re-grapple and get it in a better place. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's bouncing around. Oh, and now the Comet's spinning off in a funny direction. So I think we just do a quick time warp, which stops the Comet from spinning. But it didn't really help my rocket much. So I'm just resetting the grappling hooks, or grappling devices. And yeah, we got a clean grapple that time. But it's still wobbling furiously. That's hopeless, isn't it? And firing the main engine just seems to make it even worse. And on top of that, the Comet is, well, it was sort of rotating. Well, how does that work? It's wobbling all over the place, not just the spaceship, the Comet is as well. And now the grappling hooks don't seem to be very secure, they're all wobbly. So we can try a quick time warp, that sometimes cures the wobbling. It hasn't helped this time. Look at the state of that. What's going on? Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I definitely have seemed to have released the Kraken in this one. Well, as I was rather annoyed of what was going on, I just left the engine running full thrust just to see what happens. I was hoping we might get a big explosion or something interesting. But it's just jiggling around all over the place and rotating and wobbling. We're never going to get this under control doing it like this. Well, the grapplers are hanging on a whole lot better than I thought they would. I thought it would all fall apart by now. I wonder if the auto strut's holding that together. So now we're inside the Comet, now we're outside the Comet. I'm really amazed it hasn't just disintegrated at this point. Can't really see what's going on anymore. Oh, we're inside the Comet again. And now we're outside. No, we're inside. It's spaghettifying the joints. It's all over the place. The legs have come away. Yeah. And go inside the Comet again. You can see the legs not attached to anything. Well, don't appear to be attached to anything. It's all spaghettified, I suppose you could say. So I just left it to its own devices, but eventually it exploded. And we were left with nothing. Just a faint debris trail from the tail of the Comet, I suppose, and a couple of pieces of debris from the rocket. Oh well, so reload the quick save and we'll try it again. So it seems a bit more stable this time, and applying the thrust gently, so we're only on about half thrust from the main engine, but it's pushing it off centre and it's pushing it around. So now I'm going to try and use the small side engines to so it applies the thrust to the centre and hopefully hold it on course. again, just keep making adjustments to the engines and the amount of thrust we're using. Just trying to keep it on course. It doesn't really want to play games. So now I've ditched the well, the next stage of the main rocket, so we just got a short rocket now, thinking that would make it a bit more stable. And again, still trying to balance the thrust using the side engines, just trying to keep it on course with the nav ball. And we see we're gently coming back towards the target maneuver node. And then we've got to try and reverse that, so we're going to apply thrust to the opposite engines, try and even it out. And just ease off the main engine for a minute until we can get it stabilised. That's not too bad. It's more or less, see, the manoeuvre node is more or less the pro grade manoeuvre, so as long as I can keep it close to that, we're going to be reducing the speed of the Comet. So again, just setting up the engines to hold it steady. When I think I've got it balanced, I can then bring in the main engine. There we go, let's bring that in. Oh, 100% thrust is probably a bit optimistic. Shut that down and just try and get it balanced again. And as you can see, this is well, it's quite a balancing act, trying to keep it on course and trying to keep a decent amount of thrust on board. Otherwise we'll be out of the Kerbal solar system before we get it captured. Yeah, looking at the nav ball, it looks like we're drifting away from the manoeuvre node again, so we just shut down the main engine and just using a couple of the side engines to try and pull it back on course. And as we get close to that, we bring in the other side engines to try and cancel that motion out. And then once we're more or less on target again, and if it's fairly stable, this would probably be a good time to do a quick save in case it all goes wrong again. So that's that done. Have a quick look at the map, and yeah, we're getting close to getting into orbit around the sun. But I realise it's going to take forever trying to do it with that rocket, so we need more power. So I've built this oversized rocket using Tweakscale just to make everything a bit bigger, and the rendezvous cheat to bring it close to the Comet. I'm just going to manoeuvre around and get it ready to take the position of the original rocket, which as you can see is still wobbling away and wobbling the Comet. Oh, and you see I've gone back to an earlier quick save as well, because we've still got the previous stage of the rocket still attached on that. So yeah, slight continuity error there, but never mind, we'll move on. So then when we ungrappled the rocket, you see it started the Comet spinning, so we just did a quick time warp which stopped it from spinning out of control. We can let the original rocket drift away, and then it's time to move him with the Super Comet Catcher. Nice and steady, and yes, grappled it first time. So as you can see, we've got 4 outer engines and a center engine, and with all that, it's much more powerful than the original. So for this rocket, I made all the parts bigger using the Tweakscale mod. So the 4 Mammoth engine pods are up from 4,000 to 6,000 kilonewtons of thrust, and the Rhino engine is up from 2,000 to 3,000 kilonewtons of thrust, potentially giving us 27,000 kilonewtons of thrust. Although they don't seem to generate the full power, but it's a lot more than we used to have. So now hopefully with all this power we can try and keep it on course and adjust the speed much quicker. So we've got so far such a big burn to do and a lot of controlling, so this is running at 64 times the normal play speed. And as you can see, I'm still trying to juggle the outer engine pods, trying to hold it on course, and it's all over the place at the moment. So we're just trying to get it somewhere back near the maneuver node. Yeah, it's not working out very well at the moment, but as soon as we can get it under control, I'm sure we can start making some progress. So there's the retrograde burn node, which is what we're looking at the moment. Is that what we've got target on? Yeah. So, well, after all that manoeuvring, we are now in a solar orbit, and it's not going to escape from the Kerbin solar system. So we've got it more or less heading for the retrograde node, so we just keep burning nice and steady. Having said that, we then pile on more thrust and it all goes a bit wobbly. So yeah, just using the outer engines again, trying to keep it balanced. And there we go, it's nice and stable now. So we've got a steady thrust on, and yeah, unfortunately each time we look away at the map, all the control panels for each engine bay, each engine pods has to be reset. And yeah, we're now starting to get overheat issues with the engines, but we can live with that, I think. What we can do is shut the engines down, let them cool down a bit, just while we start planning a manoeuvre to bring the orbital plane in line, or more in line, with the Kerbin orbit. And I think we had, was it something like a 74-day time warp or something to come around to the manoeuvre node, and then we can just check a bit further ahead and see if we can get a manoeuvre that's going to bring us into a rendezvous with Kerbin. And it's looking pretty feasible at the moment. There's one there. Yeah, that's okay. So we'll finish time warping round to the manoeuvre. I'm going to stop a bit early because it's going to take a while. But that took a while to load. The ship was just falling apart when we came out of time warp. So it's the old Kraken has come out to play again, and every time I come out of time warp and load the quick save, it's just exploding instantly. Well, it's not really exploding, is it? It's just sort of falling apart more than anything else. So we're going to try and... Oh, no, that didn't work. I was trying to pause and unpause it quickly, and no, that didn't work. So try again. No, that didn't work. Oh no. So we come out of time warp. So the Kraken will not defeat me. I will beat the Kraken, but not this time. Okay. So try again. No, it's exploded. Well, fallen apart again. So try again. So we just pause in and unpausing very quickly, so it only does a few frames at a time. It didn't work that time. Trying it again, and no, it hasn't worked that time. Okay, so keep trying. Quick pause and unpause. Did that get it? No, it's disintegrated again. Okay, let's pause and unpause really quickly so the game doesn't have time to fail. Let the game work out the physics. Hooray! I managed to do the quick load without it exploding. Okay, so now we've got the game to load without exploding my rockets. I'm using the tracking station to time warp and get on course for the next manoeuvre. So here we are, we're getting ready to level out the orbital plane and perhaps have a rendezvous with Kerbin. Well, as everything seems to be under control at the moment, this seems like a good place to end part 1 of the video. So I'll hope you'll check back soon for part 2, where hopefully we will have a Comet in orbit around Kerbin. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click on like and don't forget to subscribe, and check back soon for new videos. But while you're waiting, why don't you check out some of my other videos. Thank you for watching.